Now, beginning on 28th December 2025, mass demonstrations erupted across multiple cities in Iran amid widespread dissatisfaction with the Islamic Republic government and a deepening economic crisis. While initially sparked by frustration over inflation, rising food prices and the severe depreciation of the Iran Rial, the protest quickly evolved into a broader movement demanding an end to the current regime. Beginning with shopkeepers and bazaar merchants in Tehran, the demonstrations soon spread to universities, drawing in large number of students from across the country. Demonstrators voiced anti-government slogans as well as pro-monarchist slogans, signaling their grievances to those in power. The protests have been the most widespread since an uprising in 2022 sparked by the death in custody of Mahsa Amini, a young Kurdish woman who was detained by morality police for allegedly not wearing a hijab properly. More than 550 people were killed and 20,000 detained by security forces over several months. Now, huge crowds of protesters have been marching through Iran's capital and other cities in what is said to be the largest show of force by opponents of the clerical establishment in years. Protesters can be heard calling for the overthrow of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and the return of Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of the late former Shah, who had urged his supporters to take to the streets. Thursday was the 12th consecutive day of unrest. These protests have spread to more than 100 cities and towns across all 31 of Iran's provinces. Yesterday's protest came not long after, Reza Pahlavi, whose father was overthrown by the 1979 Islamic Revolution, had called on Iranians to take to the streets. Following his call, neighborhoods across Tehran erupted in chanting, including "Death to the Dictator" and "Death to the Islamic Republic." Let's take a look. Following these massive protests, internet connectivity and telephone lines have gone dark. Norway-based Monitor Iran Human Rights has said at least 45 protesters, including 8 children, have been killed by security forces. U.S. President Donald Trump has also chimed in and issued a sharp warning to Iran's leadership, saying the United States would take severe action if authorities escalate their response to nationwide protests and begin killing demonstrators. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has ordered security forces not to target peaceful protesters. Pezeshkian said no security action should be taken against those protesting economic hardship as long as they do not compromise national security. So this, viewers, is the big development there. Of course, now Iran's protests in Iran have been happening for nearly 2 weeks now. And joining me on the broadcast is Ambassador Suresh Goyal, former diplomat. Ambassador Goyal, welcome. And a lot of developments have been happening that we've shared with our viewers. How significant is really this surge given the internet blackout and a lot of security presence and all of the turmoil that's happening in Iran at this point?
The first thing that comes to mind is that, of course, it's very, very unfortunate and very sad that these kind of protests are taking place in Iran. But the protest on the economy in terms of prices, exchange rates, availability of cash in the bank is not new to Iran. It has been happening for many, many years. And from time to time, people come out on the streets to protest against the government or economic policy. I think we need to understand why this is happening. Most of the economic problems of Iran are because of the sanctions imposed by the USA against Iran. And I would understand that this is an attempt. What is happening now is an attempt at the regime change in Iran. Trump has given sufficient indications of taking difficult tough actions against Khamenei and Iran's leadership. USA has been trying for the regime change for a long time. I do not know whether they will succeed this time or not, but it does look like a regime change effort, clearly indicated by the USA. Yes.
You know, Ambassador Goyal, Trump has surprised us as 2026 has begun. There have been multiple things from Trump which would shock anybody really. But now, you know, this tactic of Trump where if, you know, the kind of pressure that he tries to exert on nations and indirect pressure tactics that he's also applying on Iran, what do you feel about that?
Well, certainly rather disturbing trend on part of one numero uno country which is expected to actually support the current existing global order, but has gone all the way out to disrupt it for his own reasons. But he's the president of a country, and therefore what he does can be questioned only by the people in his country. And I think that there are also problems there. But the point is that Trump, USA being what it is militarily strong, economically powerful, they are able to achieve what they set out to. What happened in Bangladesh, regime change there, clearly there were indications of the USA government engineering this. Now Venezuela, now there is threat against Colombia and Mexico, attempt to take over Greenland, even at the cost of destroying NATO. So on the whole, he is on the way out to do it. He's clearly empire building person in his own mind without one bit of care for the international stability. Disturbing, but yes, very, very possible if he sets out to do it. And that is even more problematic.
All right, Ambassador Goyal, thank you for joining me on the broadcast. And now, well, U.S.